Good evening, Simon here, Explosive Action, back for another review for the Heavy Metallurgy channel. This time we're taking a look at the debut full-length album from Dripping Decay. Dripping Decay is the latest project from guitarist Neil "Maniac" Smith, best known for the horror-themed Razorback Records bands Frightmare, Blood Freak and Lord Gore. He formed the band in 2019 and on New Year's Eve 2021 released the debut demo Watching You Rot. 5 tracks plus intro and outro of horror and gore themed death grind that bubbles Neil's decades of activity in the metal underground to the surface once again. On August 17th, 2023, with a complete lineup of Jason Borton on drums, Jackson Jordan on bass, Eric Stuck on vocals, and of course Neil on guitar, the debut full-length Festering Grotesqueries was vomited out onto the market. 5 tracks of this 12-track album, plus intro and outro, were originally on the Watching You Rot demo. They are here re-recorded with an additional 7 more tracks to round out the nearly 40 minutes of gore. The album opens with the sound of dripping over an ominous synth that would fit a John Carpenter movie. The first track proper, Auto Cannibal Ecstasy, explodes with a classic grindcore 16 count, then blasting death grind smashes your eardrums. Fast tremolo riffs, snarly raspy death growls, and almost permanent blasting throughout, breaking only for a rapid double kick barrage. Before you know it, the song is over and we are on to the next track, Abundant Cadaveric Waste. This time opening with a classic sounding D beat before returning again to the grinding blast beats and fast riffs. There's a mini breakdown in this track that emphasizes a punk edge with more of that D beat sound again. This track ending with a highly moshable groove. By the third track, Gut Muncher, it's pretty clear what this band is all about. Fast and filthy death grind taking equal parts of Exhumed with equal parts of Autopsy. That horror zombies of Impetigo, the murky blasts of Repulsion. There's a fun bass guitar break in the middle of this one that takes us into the most true death metal moments so far on the album, harkening back to some Morbid Angel riffs for a brief moment, and the processing of the vocals in this one delivering us some very visceral lyrics. Bay of Blood takes its name from the Mario Bava film of the same name. This track is the most stomping so far, a chunky groove alternating with a more traditional old-school death metal 1-2 beat. It includes the first of my favourite parts of death metal, the dive bomb. Don't worry, there's still plenty of blasts here for you grind freaks. The next track, Bath Bag, has got the most grotesque lyrics on the album, all to do with the killer drink Viper from the classic 80s gore film Street Trash that causes your body to melt when you drink it. We even get a brief yet tasteful guitar solo, and yes, another dive bomb. Watching You Rot is the first time the band slows right down to a pure Autopsy-type swagger, pushing the track length out to a whopping 3.5 minutes long. Drummer Jason gets to take a well-earned break for the first half of this song, while guitarists Neil and Jackson focus a little bit more on the melody. Of course, the slowdown doesn't last as we delve back into Carcass' Symphonies of Sickness territory before fading out to feedback and the end of the first side. While I flip the record over, let's talk about this amazing artwork. This is easily Tony Hitoma's best work so far. I had no idea who this band were until I saw the cover listed on a record store website. It immediately made me want to give it a listen. It's such a delicious mess of pink goo and burning coffins. Who would not want to insta-buy an album with this artwork on it? The dripping logo by Pierre De Palmas of Blue Holocaust seals the deal. Side B bursts in with Cremator, certainly not changing the dynamic from the first half of the album, though the breaks in the verse give us some terrific hair windmilling action. Another sick-sounding solo rounds out the shortest track on the album at barely 2 minutes long. Dissolve Me is another full-on grinding attack for the most part, but also brings some brutal, palm-muted necrophagia-sounding riffs, while Neil gives us very Frightmare-sounding guitar solo. Eric's choked vocals spew us into the final lines. Dissolve me into acid, nuke me into carbon, laser every molecule, I don't fucking care. The band's self-titled song Dripping Decay is so punky and thrashy in its flavour. This track feels especially loose and even reminds me of bands like Slaughter with their album Strapato. Chemical Lobotomy is another longer song. They use this length to give us the track that initially you could have found on Death's Scream Bloody Gore. Chugging and decaying, very 90s sounding, though comparatively very little blasting in this track, used only sparingly rather than as the foundation, and two great melodious guitar leads with frenetic finger tapping. Sadistic Excruciator wins the prize for the best title and also has an accompanying video clip comprised of scenes from Gore films. It delivers another furious attack that takes us to the final song, Limitless Sacrifice. This final song is a lumbering beast, slow, slimy and pounding, with dive bombs aplenty. Of course, it finds the grind and the D beat once again, but the top and tail of this track is so meaty you could carve it with a knife. The only thing left is a final short instrumental outro of dissonant guitars that fades us out finally to silence. Does Festering Grotesqueries deliver anything new? No, not at all. It's death grind. You get death, you get grind. There's horror movie themes, there's blood, and there's gore. The album goes for 37 minutes, which on the surface might seem pretty long for this kind of rabid death grind. A good grindcore album is usually around about 25 minutes. But there is more than just pure grind here. This formula is straightforward, but the mix-up of groove and grind from filth to fury keeps each song interesting, and their individual short runtimes kept at bay. Neil has reinvigorated the sound that he brought to classic bands like Frightmare and Lord Gore. This band are tight and deliver on their mission statement, fast and filthy death grind. The album is out on Satanic Royalty Records and is available now. For my call to arms, I'm going to highlight Stenched with their debut demo, Gorging on Mephetic Rot. Stenched is a one-man band out of Mexico, and with a title like Gorging on Mephetic Rot, you know the kind of down-tuned, guttural, slime-ridden death metal that you're gonna get, and the band do not disappoint. Taking heavy influence from Undergang, Cerebral Rot, and Rotrevor, the 6 tracks on the demo reek of the sewer. Mid-paced, swampy death metal with a heavy focus on D-beat and down-tempo groove. The almost burp-whispered vocals are somewhere between demolish and pitch-shifted evolved. The second track, and by far my highlight, Putridity Mass Excretion, is disgustingly heavy from the outset, with a creeping riff over sluggish drums that sounds like it could have fit on a Sanguisugabog demo tape. This thing could crush elephants under its weight, and it remains for the majority of the song. The first 4 tracks of this release are available now on cassette by Headsplit Records, but if you wait until Halloween, Blood Harvest is releasing it on vinyl, with 2 new tracks totaling 24 minutes of maggot-infested death metal. If you like the sound of Dripping Decay or Stench, check out the links in the description below where you can check out some samples. As for this review, we're done and dusted, and thanks very much for watching. If you liked, please make sure you like and subscribe to the Heavy Metallurgy, and check out some of the other reviews that I've done for the channel, and some of the reviews that my colleagues have done as well. As for now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.